Morning. Just been first thing in the morning, finished my tea, and I was reading the British newspapers, The Guardian and The Telegraph, and it's the last day in the Telegraph of being able to watch the new La Traviata from Glyndebourne. And it looks a very nice production. It's nicely presented. It's very odd that you're watching it via a newspaper, but you can go full screen and the audio seems very good. And it seems a wonderful production of La Traviata. It got me thinking, first of all, what's the newspaper doing presenting an opera through itself, as it were? But obviously it's trying to raise its tone of the Telegraph, because Glyndebourne is as snobby as you can get, and Glyndebourne are trying to get publicity, which is fine. And it being Sunday morning after Saturday, in the newspapers, as you know, the internet ones are now presented without a front page and a back page. The front and back page seem to be pushed together. Either the back page goes on the right or down at the bottom. So it's a mashup of news, people killing each other, politics, and lots of sport. It seems sport now has taken over as the most interesting thing in people's lives. Now the question for this morning is something along the lines of, which is it better to do, to know about, to take up, to study, to take an interest in, to follow, to be a fan of? Opera at Glyndebourne or the new football season, which started yesterday? And is one better than the other? And if one is better than the other or not, is there anything even better that one can do with one's life? As in, is it better to know about Violetta and Alfredo and Verdi operas, or is it better to know about Manchester United and struggling Wayne Rooney and David Beckham or something? And for that, obviously, you have to know the context. As in, better for what? If somebody dedicates their lives to knowing all about the comings and goings of Manchester United, is this the best thing that they could do? Would they not be better off reading Shakespeare or studying political philosophy, or going to the opera? And for this, again, you have to know the context. If it was going to be better, anything was going to be better, you always have to ask the question, better for who, and better for what, and better for why? And in a big general lifey livey sort of thing, you really can't ever know, because there is no great big game that we know that we're all playing. We're all playing our own little games. If there happens to be a war or something like that, then the actual games that we play kind of coalesce into one game, which is survival of the individual or survival of the state or whatever it might be, and that becomes a bit more clear. But without that sort of clarity, where we're just muddling through in our own little lives, that's just what we're doing, and it answers the question of what's best. As in, if I lived in a council estate in Salford, just outside Manchester or inside Manchester, it probably would profit me to know more about Ryan Giggs and Manchester United than it would to know about Alfredo and La Traviata. I might even become a social outcast in Salford if I knew too much about opera and too little about Manchester United. But in some other circles, it might damage me to know too little about opera and not the other way round anyway. What we're learning is what is best for us. What we're doing is best for us in our own little social milieu, our little set. And if you don't have a set or a milieu, people that you knock around with, then you're pretty much free to get into anything that you want to get into. But we should know that people that live in society must, unless they want to be labelled a social outcast, know about what the other people know about. For these coffee break or round the water cooler type conversations, where it would not be the go not to know about something like Manchester United or the football or the sport that went on, if that happens to be the level that is spoken in that coffee break. Or it could be Glyndebourne and opera, but it's highly unlikely that people like that have coffee breaks and talk about it. But it could just be the latest soap that's been on the television, in fact it's very likely to be, or something like Downton Abbey. If you don't know your Downton Abbey in the right place at the right time, then you're in the wrong, and it will not be profiting you. And it is far the best thing to do is to watch Downton Abbey. In other situations it's far best to know about what's happening in the modern or the new football season. But obviously there are circles where it's far best to have been at Glyndebourne and dressed in a dinner jacket during the day and had your picnic on the lawn outside with champagne and caviar, and then gone and be bored stiff by watching or having to watch La Traviata. But you will have done your thing, and eventually you'll get into it as long as enough people in your set are into it. Like you can get into football, or you can even get into Downton Abbey. You can get into anything as long as you get the social feedback coming back in, showing that yes, you're doing the right thing. So unless you can think of some great meta concept of life and the game that we're playing that will say that football is better than opera or opera is better than Downton Abbey, we can't say that. We can never know that. There is no great meta game that we're playing. We're all just struggling through, and we shall do what our set does. Basically, we will follow along with the crowd. It's what people have always done and probably always will, because it's the easy thing to do. And it's very unlikely that the crowd has chosen something that's difficult or problematic to do. There would be vague occasions where it's possible that they might, but the general thing is sitting down and watching Downton Abbey would not be too onerous, and it is absolutely in your advantage to do it if that is what your set is doing. So come coffee break, you can chat along with it and be part of the crowd, because part of being human is essentially fitting in and being part of the crowd. And you just have to do it. Be there or be square. So I'll leave that with you. Unless you can give me some other reason, some huge meta concept that's better, there is nothing better for a human being than just fitting in. That is quite the thing to do. Bye.